Let me paint you a picture. There's a bunch of cavemen, relevant because their pictures are probably better than mine, and they start trapping rabbits. It's actually not too bad. Those cavemen who aren't already see this and they go, hey, that guy's getting food. I'm gonna go do that too. Things are going well. More and more people getting food means there's more and more food to be had. But as more people are hunting the rabbits start to either avoid or killed off, and the population starts to decline. Suddenly, rabbit hunting is not as lucrative. The total amount of food brought back starts to come down. The cavemen start to have doubts about whether or not rabbit hunting is the way to go. Then all of a sudden, all of the trees shake, and an animal they've never seen before comes out of the trees. And that is this gigantic, huge mammoth. Giant mammoth. All of the cavemen immediately freak out. There's this giant creature. They all freak out, they panic, and they run off. And they even leave the rabbits that they've killed for the day behind. One caveman, however, thinks, good golly, that is a lot of food. He lures the mammoth over to a cliff, pushes a big boulder on its head, bam, dead mammoth. Now he's got literally more food than he knows what to do with. And to boot, all of these rabbits got left behind as a bonus. This caveman brings back load after load of food, and all of the other cavemen again think, wow, how did that guy find so many rabbits? He goes on to say, it wasn't rabbits, it was a mammoth. And here's how I killed it. Heartened by this new success, all these other cavemen join in on the hunt. Now, the total food for everyone per mammoth lessens, right? Because not just one guy is getting it, but there's still a lot of food to be had. People are seeing this, they're getting hopeful, but mammoths are a lot less plentiful than rabbits. And eventually the herd figures out that this is a bad place to be if you don't want to be eaten. They either get killed off or they flee not wanting to be eaten. People are still trying to get the mammoths, but they've come back day after day with nothing. Eventually, after wasting days of effort without food to get another mammoth, they give up altogether. Meanwhile, one caveman, he saw what was happening and now he's out hunting rabbits. He starts to come back with rabbit food that no one else has had for a while. They all see it, want to join in, and so on. So I've got some curvy lines here and some words relating to economics, but why is this relevant to cavemen, mammoths, and rabbits? As it turns out, we are horrendously wired for finance. We are wired to take signals from others, make quick decisions based on heuristics or rules of thumb. Think, if an animal shakes a bush, it's probably small and probably can't hurt us. If an animal shakes a tree, it's probably big and probably can hurt us. These things aren't necessarily based on fact, but feelings and instinct. Sometimes they serve us well, like this particular one does. Something that shakes a whole tree will probably be able to hurt you, but sometimes they do us great harm. These curves show us the difference between our behavior, our sentiment cycle, versus the actual business cycle. Everyone gets optimistic about the rabbits. Everyone joins in and is euphoric about all of the food now available to them. The rabbits become a source of food. Now everyone sees it. Everyone sees the rabbits, joins in, and now they're euphoric about the amount of food. Very official term here, rabbit euphoria. But already at this point, the amount of profit in hunting rabbits has already started to go down. As more people join in to hunt the rabbits, there's less profit to be gained, and that particular opportunity starts to go away. But everyone joining in on it is all excited, right? Because their friends got them in on it, whatever. They slowly become less and less profitable, right? And then finally, the mammoth appears. Rabbit sentiment is at an all-time low, making the people who actually hunted some rabbits surrender them because they just think, well, this isn't worth it. I'm gonna lose more than I can gain here if I keep these rabbits, whatever. So this is called capitulation or surrender, so rabbit surrender. However, the guy sees an opportunity, he starts collecting mammoths, right? So now this goes up. Everybody sees that mammoths are now a great opportunity. Now everybody else is getting all hopeful, right back into euphoria. So now this is mammoth euphoria. So right here, marker's running out, mammoth. But this guy back here, right, at the top of this one, this guy's already reached the maximum profit, right? Max mammoth. By the time the rest of the cavemen hear about it, that opportunity has already started to fade. Here's the peak of the mammoth productivity, right? Everybody sees how productive that is. Everyone gets euphoric. They come in. Now everybody's in on the mammoths right here, way after this is done, or not done, but this is starting to decline, right? Everyone thinks this is the next hot thing while it's starting to decline. The mammoths start to go away. The mammoths are all gone. Everyone's trying to cling to hunting the mammoths. They're like, no, we can still find one. If we find one, it's going to be this big. So-and-so got a mammoth 2 weeks ago, and it was this much meat for this long, and blah, blah, blah. So they hold on, and then after days of not eating anything because they're trying to get these mammoths, they're here. They finally surrender up the mammoth hunt. They've wasted so much time, and they finally surrender. Meanwhile, the original hunter is getting rabbits again. So on and so forth. That is the cycle. This is reflective of the market. People see the opportunity to make money. They jump in when the trend is nearing its end. It's nearing the top, starting to taper off. Some market event happens. People hold on just because, well, it was profitable for so many years in a row and something else is just going on right now, so on and so forth. They get attached to that investment. They get attached to that idea. They hold on. Everything drops. And then bam, they finally are like, oh, I can't do this anymore. I can't do it. And they sell. There's panic. The mammoth bursts out of the trees and makes them panic, so they drop everything. I'm not going to be able to afford my retirement at this rate, right? So they drop it. Then something else happens in the market. It starts to come back naturally or some other thing, and then everybody starts to buy in once it's already there. So what happens here is that people are essentially wired. We have a herd mentality. One of our survival instincts is to see what other people are doing that works and follow them. So we're following a trend that has already occurred. So what happens is we end up buying high. So everybody's buying high right here, and then they're selling low over here at the surrender point. And then when it starts to look profitable again, when everybody's starting to get excited again, they buy in high, and so forth. And this is one of the reasons why active trading is such a bad thing. The average trader is very susceptible to this cycle, especially if you got a couple friends and like, well, I saw this thing on Reddit, right? So on and so forth. This is how we're wired. Most of the time when you hear about something, that train has already left the station. I'm sure you've probably seen an ad that says, if you'd invested in Amazon in 1990, you'd be a bazillionaire by now. I was like, yeah. The operative word there is if. We, in our hindsight, it's 2020. We like to think that we could have thought that way if we only had the information or what have you, but that's not really how it works. Fear, anticipation, right? All that stuff pushes our mental state around to make decisions. So no, even though now you are comforted by the surety that Amazon is a bazillion-dollar company, you had no idea of knowing that back then. And it's easy for us to discount in our head that we would have had the right feeling or what have you. But realistically, we're doing this. Assuming a portfolio is well diversified, the best thing you can do over market turmoil is just hold on. Because if you got a well-diversified portfolio, you're riding the market. You're not trying to pick the next Amazon. Because we have a documented business cycle, right? Things go up and things go down, sometimes more radically than others, but eventually we'll come back. Think of it this way. For at least the American market, right? If it tanks completely and it didn't matter what you were invested in and you would lose everything no matter what, you have a bigger problem, right? Probably a nuclear bomb went off or something. The end of America is here. If you're betting on the end of America being here, I don't think you're going to be right. Now, this game changes a bit at retirement. You can't exactly afford to wait for this to come back around. And that's why the bucket strategy is so important. The bucket strategy is like having a refrigerator for all that mammoth meat that guy got. I can't necessarily get one every day, but I don't have to because I've got all this previous success that I've had that I can take out at my leisure. We are so bad at market timing, it hurts. That thing you feel in your gut, that gut feeling about whether or not investment is good, so on and so forth, was not made for the S&P 500. It was made to evade saber-toothed tigers. If I've done anything, please don't panic sell. You want your stuff to be diversified so it can weather the storm and not avoid it. Structure your portfolio in a way that you can wait. Be the caveman with the refrigerator. If you liked this video, make sure you like, subscribe, comment on what I did wrong, so on and so forth. Do all the things, and see you next time. Thanks for watching.